Hello there. Won't you be my leader? Greetings. My name is Tom Wilk, and I currently work as an IT manager at the School of Computer Science for Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I have worked in a variety of organizations in different sectors over the years, including trucking and transportation, government, small business, startups, and higher educational institutions. And I worked in roles like accounting and IT operations, networking, desktop support, help desk, and data center operations. All of these roles have helped me find my true passion, which is leadership. All right, enough about me. Let's get started with the presentation. Let's talk about leadership. What is leadership? Leadership encompasses both research and application of practical skills, and it encompasses the ability of an individual or organization to lead or guide other individuals, teams, or entire organizations. Great, so who are they? Are you a leader based on your title, based on your position in an organization? Only at work? Leaders may be managers, sure, but not every manager is a leader. In fact, many people in management positions, they do manage something or someone, but there are a lot who can't lead. Leaders, however, can be found in all levels of a company, in organizations like churches and kids groups, and even here in HDI. You may even be a leader in your own family. So who here is a leader? Go ahead, raise your hand. No one can see you anyway. Raise your hand if you're a leader. My guess is that if you're in attendance today, I'm pretty sure that you're a leader in some fashion or other, and you're looking to gain some more knowledge. So I hope that I can help you out. So how long does it take to become a great leader? Michelangelo said at the age of 87 that he was still learning. And the same holds true for anyone aspiring to be a great leader. Why? Well, times change, people change, and no matter what industry you work in, technology changes. Even now, leaders have had to learn to adapt to COVID-19 pandemic. We've had to learn how to lead our organizations differently. Most of us have had to learn how to trust our people to do their work remotely. And we definitely have had to learn how to support our customers in a different way, maybe with technology that we hadn't even considered using before and hadn't used before. So how can you become a great leader? There is a learning theory called the 70-20-10 model for learning and development. And it basically says that individuals obtain 10% of their knowledge from formal education, 20% of their knowledge from interaction with others, and 70% from on-the-job related experiences. But all of these combined make a good learning opportunity for you to become a great leader. So let's talk about some of those examples. Let's start off at the top of that pyramid with formal education. There are organizations like HDI who offer courses to get formally certified in several different areas of the service and support industry. All of their courses incorporate a leadership section in one way or another. There are also companies like LinkedIn Learning that offer less formal training, online learning, where you can pick the topic of your choice and you learn at your own pace. Now, if your organization doesn't offer an online tool like this, try your public library. Many of them do offer this for free to their community. Some organizations even have their own version of this by combining professionally done online courses and the ability for your company to add their own professional development training. For example, my university's human resources department, they've done just that. They've paid for licensing from one of those big vendors, and they branded it just for us. We call it Focus You, and we incorporate their stuff plus our own items that we can do live training and sign up to go to in-person courses pre and post COVID-19, of course, right? And there's also the opportunity for you to go for formal education in leadership. I just graduated in May from Carnegie Mellon University with a master's in public management, and I can't wait to see what doors it opens for my career in the future. Now, in that 20% bucket of learning from interactions with others, I strongly recommend that you consider finding mentors. And yes, I did say mentors as in plural. While you can certainly benefit from the knowledge of someone like me, we all have our own style and way that works for us. Having more than one mentor gives you the perspective of many others so that you can decide what may work best for you. But don't stop there. Consider mentoring others yourself. I often find I learn as much from the people I'm mentoring as I do from my mentors themselves. And lastly, go out there and practice what you learn. You know, the 70% of the model of on-the-job training, but do yourself and everyone else a favor. Be self-aware of your actions. Observe how your leadership style affects others and make changes so that you are the most effective leader that you can be. Leadership, it's all about the people. I mean, think about it. If there was no one to lead, it wouldn't be called leadership. But it's also important to be able to adapt to the different people that you lead. Studies have shown that no two people are alike when it comes to leadership and being led, not even identical twins. So why is it that so many, quote, leaders try to lead their whole team the same way? Today, I'm going to talk to you about 3 broad categories of employees that I use as a leader to help me manage my teams and lead my teams. And even then, I still work with them as individuals. My first category is the struggler. And this may be the most obvious category of employee for a leader. Struggling employees come in a variety of types though. And I've encountered many types and all with individual challenges of a unique nature. So to help struggling employees be successful, you need to be direct. You need to tell them where they're struggling at. And in most cases, you actually need to spell it out. In my experiences, most struggling employees, they aren't purposely trying to be that way. In fact, most of them don't even know they're struggling. Honestly, that's the truth. You also need to ask them for help. You cannot come up with the solution for them by yourself. They need to be a part of this process for them to be successful. What works for you may not even come close to working for them. Ask them what's causing their struggle, how they feel when they're struggling in a struggling situation. This will help you get to the root cause of what their struggle is. And they probably don't even know what that is themselves, or they wouldn't need your help. And you need to be supportive, empathetic, and willing to help them. Do not coddle them or mislead them with, "You're doing a great job, but," and don't yell at them or be upset when you're working with them. Trust me, they are already stressed out having to acknowledge they are struggling in front of their boss. They don't need you to put on additional stress. My next category is the rock star. Rock stars are usually your go-to person. They're usually the ones taking on additional work to help the team. They look for a challenge, wanting to do more, and they have no problem putting in the time to do that. However, rock stars can be just as challenging for a manager as struggling employees. They have high expectations for themselves, but they also have a hard time saying no or knowing their limits. So when helping a rock star, you need to provide them with balance. Do not always give them the complicated stuff or all of the critical issues. Let them handle some everyday work. Trust me, it's good for them and the rest of your team. Keep them focused. Help them not take on the world all by themselves. Give them a priority list that does not include getting everything done all at the same time and ASAP. Because trust me, they'll try to do that, and they probably will. Provide them guidance. Let them know when it's okay to come. Let them know it's okay to come to you. Let them know it's okay to say no, and encourage them to tell others to come to you as their leader for help, and not circulating around you going to the rock star because people know that they'll do it and they won't say no, and you might say no. You need to do that. And the final category, the broad category I use, is the average Joe. Now, this may be the most underrated employee on your team, at least compared to the rock star. Hopefully, though, most of your team is made up of average Joes. You may ask, why would I not want all rock stars? Well, while failing employees obviously require a lot of time to rehabilitate, rock stars require special attention as well to keep them from burning out or alienating themselves. And this can leave a manager exhausted if you have too many rock stars or failing employees on your team. The average Joe employee, they'll usually go about their day and maybe their career doing what is expected of them. There's nothing wrong with this. In fact, it helps keep your team stable. It does not mean average Joes are slackers or non-achievers, but it also doesn't mean you should only focus your time on struggling employees and rock stars. Your average employee can make or break your team. And if all your attention goes to the others, they themselves can turn into struggling employee. So working with your average Joe employee, you need to give them at least as much attention as you do the other categories of employees on your team. You need to listen to them. They will let you know what team is really doing. Your rock star, they're your optimist telling you everything is great because they don't want to disappoint, right? Your struggler, that's your Eeyore. It's the ever pessimist. But your average employee, oftentimes, that's your realist. Even if they don't know it, they can often be your gauge or your thermometer to how the team is really doing. Guide them to grow their career. They may not express to you that they want to get promoted or do more challenging or critical things, but trust me, they probably do. Make sure that you let them know that you care about their career as much as they do. Well, you can, as much as you can, at least. So let's talk about your role as a leader working with your team to help create success. Your role involves the other three circles on this slide. You need to explain to your employees their role in their career success. Maybe they need to improve on what they're doing now to move on. Maybe they need to focus more on a particular avenue of what their job is. Or maybe they need to think about what their next move is going to be. Maybe it's not, they're run their course on where they're at now and they need to look at another avenue. Whatever it is, they need to know where they are and where they want to go. You also need to work with them to identify career goals. I mean, do they need training or a degree or a certification to get to the next career level? Do they need to explore other options differently than what they're doing now? And what does it take to get to that goal? Because if they knew, they probably would already be there and they wouldn't need you or come to you for help. You need to help them identify those things and discuss it with them and make sure that they're comfortable and that you accept that and you acknowledge that and you want to help them. And you need to help them find those opportunities, especially within your own company or organization. I mean, we're global now. Everybody in pretty much in our field, we have that network. Help them out as best you can. You don't want them to be working for you forever if they want to and aspire to be more. It's just not good or healthy for either of you or the team. So next, I want to share with you some of the tools that I have in my leadership toolbox. Now, I'm going to go over them briefly with you today because of time, but I'd be happy to discuss them in further details later with anyone who wants to know more. You can reach out to me. I'll share my information at the end of this presentation. Okay, so the first tool that I use to help my team be successful is one-on-one meetings. How many of you have one-on-one meetings with your team? Do you have regular one-on-one meetings with your individuals on your team, or is it just on an as-needed basis? I often get asked, what's my rule of thumb for having one-on-one meetings? And my rule of thumb is 1 hour every other week. And don't be a stickler for that hour. Sometimes people don't need the whole hour, especially as you foster this relationship with each of the people on your team. But expect that once in a while, someone may need a little more time from you if they really need your help. Be there for them. That's your job. Now, if you directly lead larger teams, and I mean directly, no layer of supervision in between you and that layer, then you may need to make it once per month. It's not ideal, but at least you're giving them the time and the attention that they need. So when I meet with people one-on-one, I always use a basic agenda, and I make this agenda available to each of my individuals 24/7. This can be with any tool in which you both have access. I do use a cloud-based tool now, but before that, I just simply used a document that was on our shared network drive at work. This way, either of us could add an item. We can prepare ahead of time for what the other person may want to discuss. And it helps if you're managing remote teams. The setting is important and should depend on what the person you're meeting with, what they're comfortable with. For example, some of my meetings include in my office. In the past couple of years, however, I now share an office. So it's not ideal to have them in my office. So we'll have them in a huddle space or a conference room. My favorite one-on-one meeting location is a walking meeting. I have a few employees that like to get out, walk our campus, enjoy the weather, get some exercise, get some of those steps in. And because we use a cloud-based tool that we can access the agenda on our smartphone, it works for us. Next, I want to share with you some basic agenda, the basic agenda that I use for my one-on-one meetings. I pretty much use the same format for all of them, and I keep it simple and to the point. So I always start off my one-on-one meetings asking my employee what it is they want to talk about today. They may have something on the agenda. They may have something that they don't want to put on the agenda, but they want to talk about. Remember, this is their meeting, not yours. You're there for them. Let them talk about whatever they want. And once we do that, we can come back over to the agenda. And I have basically 5 columns in our agenda. The first one is discuss this week. It's things that we need to talk about, whether it's like a ticket that they're working on, or maybe a time off request coming up, or maybe they're aging tickets because maybe there's something that they're struggling with or it's blocking them, right? And they need to get it done. The second column I have is action items. These are things that my people are working on, but they're not necessarily, we need to talk about them at this particular meeting. Maybe they're working on a project to upgrade, computers to the latest version of Mac OS or Windows 10. Maybe it's an end of month report that they need to go through, and that's not happening until the end of this month, and that's 3 weeks away, right? The next column is the parking lot. Now, this is things that they either are working on, but they have to put on the side for now, put on hold, or things that are going to be coming up for them in the near future. Certainly nothing we need to talk about today. And the fourth column, this one is the most important one. This is about career development for them. We talk about their performance evaluation, and I'll mention that a little bit later. We don't talk about it every meeting, but we do talk about it, right? We also talk about maybe there's a professional development opportunity like Support World Live. They can go to a conference to get something and learn something or take a class. And lastly, we always are looking at what's that next step for them in their career. Maybe it's a team lead, maybe it's a systems administrator, maybe it's an engineer, whatever it is, we want to make sure that it's on there so that we know that that's where they want to focus and get to eventually. And the last column is simply an archive column. It's things that have been done in the last 30 days that we've talked about in these meetings. It actually sits there for 30 days before it becomes archived, just in case we at a future meeting, in the next meeting, we think, oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to tell you about on that kind of thing. So that's my basic one-on-one agenda with my team. The next tool that I use to help my team be successful is SMART goals. I have worked for organizations that use SMART goals for performance evaluations, for goal planning, and performance improvement plans. These are great times to use performance or SMART goals. However, I also use them for their career planning as well. So what are SMART goals? If you're not familiar with the term SMART goals, it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And while it sounds simple, you do need to take some professional development yourself and really get used to writing SMART goals. What is a goal? It has to be specific. It can't be go become a better technician, right? It needs to be specific. It needs to be simple. It needs to be sensible, and it needs to be significant for them, your organization, both of you, and for their career. Measurable. How will you know when they achieve that goal? You have to have some deliverables that they need to show you that they've done this, right? There has to be some evidence of them completing this goal. It needs to be achievable, right? They need to be able to accomplish it. This is not where you do these big, hairy, audacious goals. This is where maybe a slight stretch or a little bit more than that, depending on how you evaluate your people. It needs to be challenging, but it has to be attainable. It can't be something that, oh, maybe they'll get to this and, it's not what a SMART goal is, right? Realistic. It has to be realistic to be achieved, right? They have to have the time to get it done. They need the tools and resources to get it done. And they have to have the ability to get it done. Even if it's professional development training, they have to have the ability to be able to get that done. It needs to be timely. It has to be time-bound and scoped. Good idea is to put milestones in there. Have some check-ins periodically through in your one-on-one meetings, and have some dates for them to meet and an ending date. This can't be this open-ended thing that may be a 5-year thing. Even if it is, break it up into chunks for them so that they can attain it. Okay. Now, the last leadership tool I want to share with you today is performance management. This tool is my multi-purpose tool that comes with many attachments. It's kind of like that Swiss Army tool, right? In fact, the one-on-one meeting and the SMART goals are two attachments that I use with my performance management tool. I also use performance evaluation tool as well as this for a part of the performance management process. So what is performance management? Performance management is not something that you only use when you're dealing with a struggling employee. It's the process of creating an environment where all of your people can thrive. It defines a leader's interaction with an employee at every step of the way. It makes every interaction a learning opportunity, not only for the employee, but for the manager, the leader as well. And it's the whole system from job description to promotion to someone leaving your organization. That's what it is. As many organizations do, my university uses the performance evaluation as a process for evaluating employees' performance on an annual basis. This is the appraisal rating scale that my college uses. And it's pretty decent at describing each level that they can be rated as. They can either be solid, strong performer. For us, that's where you should be. That's where you're rated, as consistently being able to meet the job requirements and your supervisor's expectations. But it also tells them what an underperforming employee looks like, or what a successful and achieving role model exceeds expectations employee is like as well. It does a pretty good job of that. This is the actual appraisal form we use. And if you don't recognize this, yes, it's Excel, sadly. I love Excel, but not for an evaluation. Fortunately, or maybe not so fortunately, my university is moving to a more formalized system that we use with our HR software as a service application. But how does this process help the employee? Let me show you how I try to help my employees be successful as they can all year round, and not just once or twice a year for their evaluation. Let's go back to the one-on-one agenda I use with my team. Do you remember that card or that box labeled performance evaluation right here? Not only is this a reminder for us to review periodically, but it is also a link to their evaluation board. When we click on this card, it takes us to a different board so we can use it. Here we go. This is the performance evaluation board we use in that cloud tool I use. It resembles that Excel spreadsheet, but with a few differences. One, it is a more friendly layout for both me and my team. It allows us to work with each category individually at a time, right? It is also cloud-based with features that allow us to set dates, we can keep track of comments, and neither of us can alter or delete the comment one of the others made. I may put something very critical that they may not be fond of me putting on there. And I may not like what they write about me affecting one of their areas, their competencies or their goals. But you know what? That's okay. It's their take on things, it's their perspective. It also allows me to share everything with the individual at all times. And I don't use this board. This is not what I actually turn in. Some things stay on here and don't go on the actual evaluation form, but most of it does, right? On this board, I also have included other information. So let's talk about these. So in the first column, it's the responsibilities. This actually comes right from their job description. And that's what my college does. They rates them on their job description. So we have a card for each one of those and we rate them. Maybe they are solid, strong, maybe they exceed, right? The second section is the competencies section. And this is where we feel a person in our organization needs to be to be concerned about: taking responsibility, customer focus, all those things, right? The third column is the current goals. This is the goals that they're supposed to be working on throughout that 1 year for their evaluation. And section 4, that's about goal setting. We do that at the end of each performance cycle so that they can plan for the next one. I also have other things in the last 2 columns that aren't on that evaluation form necessarily, but I feel that they're important. You remember that SMART goals thing I talked about? Well, on here we have a card for that, right? And basically what it is, I let my people see, I remind them what a SMART goal is so that they know what they're working towards. And when they have to help be a part of that success of creating the goals for the next, I don't create their goals for them for the next year. We work together to come up with those. And so it's there for them. I also share with them the categories with the definitions from the official review. Like, for example, the solid, strong performer. They can open up that card and it tells them exactly what that is. So when they see that on one of their cards, they can go back and look to see what the jobs are, especially if it was maybe, an unsatisfactory rating for them that they felt. I mean, really, some of my people get upset when they get solid, strong, and they want to know what they did that only get a solid, strong. They can come here and look at this. All right. In the other columns, I have things like, I have a card for them to make their comments. I have a place for just my comments. This is for things that don't fit in any of the other areas of the evaluation, any of the other 4 columns. I also put on here the HR forms. This is where I attach the Excel spreadsheet. And I also attach like things that we have to maybe, like we have a confidentiality agreement that we have to sign every year. I attach it there so that they have all of these tools at their fingertips. All right, well, to summarize my performance management process, it is a never-ending cycle, right? The one-on-one meetings allow me to know where my people are at. We set, evaluate, and modify SMART goals, both for their yearly evaluation and their career. And this helps me manage their performance, help them if they are struggling, help them work to grow their career, whatever it is. And we do all of this in the one-on-one meetings. So hopefully today you were able to get something out of this session. We talked about training, from formal to ongoing on the job, things like that. We talked about teams. Know your team. Know that people are individuals on that team. Even though we're a team, there is an I in team, folks. They're individuals, and you need to understand and treat them that way, right? And we talked about roles. The individual's roles, the team roles, your role. So key takeaways on this were training, ongoing, always learning, your team. Know who is on your team. What type of person are they? The role. You should know your role on the team and be able to explain their role as far as their career success on the team. And we talked about tools like the one-on-one meetings, the SMART goals, talked about planning, and even providing them feedback so that they know how they're doing. And if you put all of this together, you will be well on your way to becoming a leader that people want to work for, because they know you care about their success as well as the team's and the company's success. I'd like to thank everybody today for sitting here with me through this presentation on Won't You Be a Lead, My Leader. I hope this helps you all become a great leader. Please feel free to contact me at my email addresses. You can find me on my webpage, my LinkedIn page, Facebook, and YouTube for videos and podcasts that are coming up. Thank you.